Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the age-old question, what format should your resume be in? And in case you don't know, there's two different major resume formats. There's different ones for CVs. We're not going to go into that. CV is a completely different thing. Anyway, resumes, there is the chronological resume and the functional resume. High-level difference between the two is chronological resume typically is in reverse chronological order. The most recent stuff that you've done, work experience, volunteer experience, other types of experiences at the top of your resume. And then your oldest jobs, your teenage high school jobs, mine was as a lifeguard, is all the way at the bottom, or it drops off your resume completely. The functional resume is organized a little bit differently. The functional resume is organized into skill sets. So, for instance, if you are applying for a project manager job, it might be organized into specific experiences that are specifically related to that type of work, which means that it might not cover everything in your career. So, Dave is with me, our co host. And Dave, what resume format should people be using?
So I'll start with kind of what recruiters have told me. I've interviewed hundreds of recruiters to learn like what's the best thing to recommend to job seekers, and they always tell me, look, if something is non-standard, it causes me to pause and like raise an eyebrow. Right? It's like you leave off dates. Like, why are they leaving off dates? So if you don't use reverse chronological order, they immediately go to, why are you not using the standard resume format? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to change? Remember, they're not like looking for reasons to say yes. They're looking for reasons to say no, because it's high risk for them. If they let someone in that ends up being a bad hire, that's bad for their career. So anything that's non-standard, you need to have a very good reason. So if you can, and we can talk about some of the reasons that you wouldn't use a reverse chronological, but really the best approach, if you can, if everything makes sense, is to use reverse chronological resume.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I would say 98.56725%. 98% of people should be using a reverse chronological order resume. And I think the biggest reason, you kind of touched on it, and I think it goes even deeper than that. And I think it goes down to, and here at Teal, one of our key values is trust. But trust is so important in so many aspects of your life, whether it's dating, whether it's applying for a job, whether it's relationships with your children. It's all founded in trust. But within a job search, it's a mutual match between you and a company. You have to be able to trust that company in order for you to want to work there, right? Because you're putting in on those time, you're trusting that first and foremost, you're trusting that you're going to get paid. You're trusting that there's going to be good benefits. You're trusting that it's a nurturing environment, that there's opportunity to grow. And on the employer side, they're looking for the same thing. They want employees that they can trust. They want contractors that they can trust. And I think that's probably the biggest problem with the functional resume is right off the bat, as soon as somebody sees it, their head goes instantly to, what are they hiding?
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's other things you can do to address the value of a functional resume. Like I oftentimes recommend a little summary at the top of a chronological resume. Because what happens with the chronological resume is you only can talk about your successes and achievements in the context of a particular job. And there's nowhere for you to talk about your career in aggregate. And that's why I really love a quick little professional summary at the top, which gives you some of what the functional resume gives you. You can name drop some big companies you worked at. You can aggregate achievements. If you're in sales, like the total sales you've done over the course of your career. If you're in media buying, what's your total, spend that you've ever done. So I love a little 2-3 sentence professional summary at the top that gets you the ability to talk about your career, but then you can just go to the standard chronological. They want to see what you did last. They don't want to have to do extra work to try to discern what you've done from the way that you've kind of like remapped your career. They want it to be easy. The stat is people look at resumes for 6 seconds, right? So don't make it hard on them.
The other thing that I would add to that is people who think that they might want to use a functional resume, a lot of the times that is because the work experience is irrelevant. They say the work experience is irrelevant. If I use a functional resume, it can make it look like the work that I've done, the experiences that I've had are just more relevant. And what I would say to that, looking through thousands of resumes at this point, is there are some things that are universal. Things like learning agility, things like being able to analyze data, things like collaboration, things like good customer or client relationship skills. And so, even if you have a job that isn't particularly relevant to where you want to go in the future, on the jobs that are not quote unquote relevant, you can really lean into some of these global attributes that are things that are just desirable to have, regardless of the fact that the job function or the job industry might be a completely different one.
Yeah, and I think also people feel very rigid about the chronological resume. You don't have to include everything on it. You can still be quite curatorial about how you use it, right? If you had 3 jobs back to back, you could make those one block. If you're worried that you were like at 3 jobs for 6 months each, you could just put the 3 company names separated with commas and have it look as one. You can present the information in smart ways where you're not being disingenuous, you're not lying, but there's no red flags in terms of format. So you can kind of make it quick. They might catch, but again, don't lie about it. I worked at company 1, company 2, company 3, and then maybe in the achievements, you can give a little bit of context. But there's things like that you can do still in the chronological resume that give you some flexibility.
And I would say the last reason that some people say, I really want to use a functional resume is because of a gap in employment. So let's bring the elephant out of the closet and into the room that we're all in. All right, ready, set. There's nothing you can do about it. Get over it. But also, if you're thinking about a gap in employment because of the pandemic, you're fine. You're fine. You get a free pass. You're fine. Take a step back, breathe. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think
that won't be held against you.
And I agree. I think more so than ever, there's an understanding of that, right? I mean, like we're filming this in October of 2021. We just had 4 consecutive months of the largest voluntary resignations ever. It is the talents market right now. And so people understand. People want career agency. There's a lot of different things with work-life balance, remote work. There's a much higher acceptance of it. The person that's interviewing you probably has gaps on their resume. So empathy is higher, understanding is higher. And those things I think are, and like to Vincent's point, again, it's a fact. You can't like hide the facts. So if a company is not going to hire you for that, that might not be that great of a place to work anyway.
Yeah. And I'd say that goes back to the trust, right? Not hiding the facts, being upfront and addressing it gives you one key advantage, which is you get to tell the story. Instead of the other person looking at a gap on a resume and going, well, I wonder what happened there. I wonder why they didn't. Instead of that and them even thinking and going down that path, you get to tell that story. And you get to tell the story about the nonprofit that you were passionate about and wanted to take time to go work with. The fact that you wanted to be there to be able to take care of your child with special needs. The fact that after college, you wanted to take a gap year to expand your international experiences before jumping into business with international clients. By being able to address these up front, you get to tell that story. And there's nothing more impressive right now to employers about people who have been able to tell the story about what they've been doing during the pandemic and how they've been spending their time, either working on their family, working on their community, or working on themselves. And those are really the job candidates that stand out in the market today.
Yeah, 100%. So if you can go for the reverse chronological resume, pivoters who have like really made a huge switch, maybe one of the few reasons to use the functional resume. But like I said, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. And so it's better to just be upfront about your career, shape the contents of your resume to the job description. If you catch some of the other episodes, we talk about that topic a lot, but when you can really try to use the chronological resume.
98% of the time, it's going to be the right answer. And even if you go the other direction, they're just going to look at your LinkedIn profile anyway, which is going to be in chronological order. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. We're talking about which resume format you could use. Join us next time. We'll see you then.